I was born and raised in rural West Virginia in a small coal and timber town. And that's been a really important part of my background, in part because while coal did a lot of damage, coal mining did a lot of damage to the streams and the mountains where I lived, the county and the state, it provided a livelihood not only for our family, but for many other families, and it also provided a cultural identity, a social identity for a lot of people that lived in that area. That's played a very strong role in shaping my outlook in how to look at environmental problems, because I think I understand in a very personal way the need to balance social, economic, and environmental concerns when we think about sustainability. I've always worked at the interface of science policy and decision making, and that's taken me basically to where those problems are and working with the people that experience them. So in Colorado, I worked on open space protection. In West Virginia, I've worked on national forest planning and management in the Monongahela National Forest. In New Mexico, I've worked with community-based foresters. In Brazil, I worked on climate change. In South Africa, I worked on water security problems. And probably most recently, and what I'm most well known for, is wildfire. And so I've worked on wildfire issues all over the United States and in Canada. I wanted to come to Duke because of the Nicholas's school focus on interdisciplinarity. Bob Healy, who was my advisor, took me under his wing and was really generous in allowing me to pursue my passions. I took classes in the Nicholas School, but I also took classes over at what was then the Sanford Institute in the Department of Economics and in the Department of Political Science. I got to roam broadly to really understand what kind of a policy scholar I wanted to be. I felt like not only did I get the disciplinary depth that I needed to be a successful scholar in my career, but I also gained this ability to talk broadly to many people outside of my area of interest. And then I think about, we have 5,000 alumni that have graduated from the Nicholas School, and the ripple effect or the magnifying effect that one can have when you can put that much impact out into the world. The prospect of leading a school that can have that kind of impact at this time is thrilling. At the University of Saskatchewan, when the opportunity arose to move to Canada, our family really jumped at it. It was a chance to go and see a very different part of the world, take us outside our comfort zone. Part of that was learning about the boreal forest ecosystem, learning about the changing Arctic, which is significant. It's changing faster than any other place on the globe under climate change, and to learn about Indigenous peoples that live in that part of the world. When you're working with Indigenous peoples in Canada, you can only do research at the speed of trust. In these communities, there's a historical legacy of distrust for excellent reason. As a researcher coming in from the outside, you don't want to be one of these hit-and-run researchers. You have to go in, you have to develop a relationship. One of the things we innovated around was, how can we do this and commit ourselves as a school to a given First Nations? Over the period of my tenure, my 5 years there, we signed 3 agreements with 3 separate First Nations where we said we would make the commitment to them over time to be there to understand their problems and build that relationship. It was a new school, so it was a chance to hire a highly interdisciplinary faculty and put them together from whole cloth. So that was a delight. It was a chance to bring in scholars that fit the mission that we wanted to do. Some came from basic science traditions, some came from applied science traditions, and it was important for us to mutually understand how each of us contributed to the importance of understanding the environment, the new environment in which we were all working. I think my leadership style can be characterized as being a good listener, highly collaborative, but I'm not afraid to make a decision. Environmental leadership is the fusion of the ability to understand the scientific and technical aspects of a problem, as well as understanding that there are deep values-based decisions that are made around that understanding. So it's not enough just to know the science and the technology. You have to understand that you're going to engage in a conversation that may involve conflict. And how we manage that conflict is the hallmark of a great environmental leader. I think that's one of the key things that a student can get when you come to the Nicholas School, is that dual training.